Hello, hello, hello. Apologies, folks.
Well, at least I couldn't hear you swearing.
Yet another ropey start. I'll try that again, shall I? Welcome to the Bailey Workshop for the Guitar Making channel. Today I'm going to show you how we did this seamless neck. I couldn't think of a better name for it. If you guys have got any better ideas, let me know. Seamless neck. This is the guitar that I made for Roland. No neck heel, beautiful. So it's a custom guitar. The body is 400-year-old walnut. The neck is beautiful baked maple and satin wood with these black pinstripes. But anyway, I digress. Apart from the carved top, it's a fairly basic standard sort of guitar. I did actually build most of it on a live stream, so if you look through the channel you'll see I certainly did. I used it for a routing example, and so it's in the tools and techniques playlist, and I also used it as the carving example for how to carve a top. So yeah, if you want to know how we did that, check out the other playlists, carving and tools and techniques, and I used it as an example. And I'm also using it for our upcoming finishing course. So as you guys all know, I won't bore you with it too much, but we're working on the guitar finishing course for the site. Also on the site you will see complete design and build your own guitar courses. So that's what it's all about. I show you how to design and build a guitar completely from scratch, starting with a blank piece of paper. All you need to do is join up as a premium member. So yeah, I've got a couple of warnings for you later on as well. It has come to my attention. Carol don't know what it is yet, do you?
No idea what you're talking about, but TV 101's
Do you care?
having a meltdown because...
Why? Because I'm spinning the guitar?
Well, you just found out that guitar's for Roland, apparently.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a finishing course, so the man's going to explode.
Yeah, we're doing our utmost to get the finishing course to you before Christmas. Most of it's already filmed, some of it's edited, but we've got a long way to go before it's finished. So there's going to be no sleep till Christmas for me. I'll be editing the finishing course, but I'll talk to you a bit more about that in a bit. I don't want to waste too much time before we get straight on, because some people won't have joined us before and they just want to get on and find out how we did this beautiful seamless neck. So let's pop this back on there. I'm going to show you a short film and talk over it, just to show you how I did it. It's only about 4 or 5 minutes long, and then after that I've got some warnings for you. It has come to my attention. I'll just start with a warning though, that I'll show you a normal heel first. Look, so this is a normal sort of heel. You can see it's got a bit of wood sticking out the back. This is what we call the neck heel, and there's no body heel on this one. So I'm going to show you the one with no body heel, no neck heel. Again, right, so you see that. Okay, so basically the warning is if you're cutting this bit shorter, which effectively you are, because there's no lump on it, then you're weakening the neck, you see, because there's only really that much holding the neck. It's only a couple of inches. I would suggest you need at least a couple of inches there. So if you imagine, this would be exacerbated if this was a P90, because that would be even closer to the edge of the fretboard. Notice with a pickup we leave a little step for the end of the fretboard. I'll talk about that in a minute as well, because I had a question on the website about that. Yeah, so just watch that if you are doing this kind of thing, that you don't cut this too short, because you're reducing the strength of the neck here. You can see where my fingers are there. There's not a lot of meat left. That's minimum. I would say at least 2.25 inches is what you need there. So in order to get that, what I did was I actually made a little body heel on this guitar. Normally when I make this shape, I just cut straight across there. But on this one, I allowed a little bit of body heel. So no neck heel, but a little body heel. And then I was able to carve it seamlessly in. And I'm going to show you exactly how I did that right now. By the way, if you guys have any questions, then Carol's over there glaring at me, giving me the evils as usual.
Such a fibber.
She'll be shouting out your questions.
I stopped doing that when you went live.
If you've got any questions, put them in the comments and Carol will shout them out as long as they're appropriate. So let's put that down before I drop it, eh, Roland? And let's see if I can get this sorted. So can you see that, Carol?
No. I can see it on camera 4.
Yeah. Switch to camera 4.
Okay. Ooh.
Now if I just play that.
Are you not in there?
The wonders of modern technology, eh?
Do you want me to put you in on the...
No, I can do that, Carol. Don't touch it because it's a different system, I think. It's all very complicated, this. Right, so here's Roland's guitar before I glued the neck in. Up until this point, as I was saying, it's pretty much a standard build. By the way, if you want to know how I built this guitar, I did build some of it online as a live stream, but also that is what the courses are all about. Full design and build courses. You get access to these if you become a premium member. So there's the normal neck heel as it would normally be, and this is me marking out. So basically I've got to trim that back, haven't I, until it matches where the body is. So first thing to do is mark it with a pencil. Pop the neck out, and then I'm using my half round rasp. Those are available to buy, by the way. So just so you didn't bore you with the whole thing, it probably took about 15 to 20 minutes. I've time-lapsed it for you. And I'm being extraordinarily extra careful to make sure I don't go over that line. Yeah, I can cheat a bit with my up and downer. Not everybody's going to have one of them, but you can just sand it by hand. So I got it as close as I could, and then went on and sanded the body. So I'm just rough sanding the body, getting it ready for gluing the neck in. So yeah, beautiful, eh? Couldn't resist leaving it in because it just looks so great. So here's me sanding the neck. Obviously we had to slow it down because I work faster than it's normal. Look at that, you could eat it, couldn't you? Absolutely beautiful. So sanding the guitar is actually a bigger skill than what people realise. So with the guitar sanded, I was then ready to go ahead and glue the neck in. There's the neck being glued in. So my weapon of choice was the Dremel with a little sanding disc on the end, little sanding drum. So that's what I used. I'll show you it in a minute. As you can see, after gluing in, there was a little step that was left. And I just had to remove that, being really careful. I'm trying really hard not to change the shape of the body at this point. So again, this could have been just done by hand, but it just would have took a lot longer. And I thought, well, to save time, that's what it's all about. I've just had an idea, wouldn't it be handy if I had a little sanding wheel that would get in there? And looked in the kit, happened to have one. So there you go. It's all about trying to find the path of least resistance, isn't it? The easiest possible way to do it, depending on what tools you've got. So if you didn't have the Dremel, then I'm afraid you'd be maybe with some rough sandpaper, just spend half an hour or an hour sanding at it. You can actually buy miniature little rasps that would be good for getting in there as well. But I chose my Dremel because that was the quickest, easiest option for me. So that was a bit real time, and then it took about another 10 or 15 minutes, I think, maybe another 5 or 10 minutes. So again, I just did a little time lapse just to speed it up a bit. And that, my friends, is pretty much how it was done. I did tidy it all up, obviously, by hand with some 80 grit, and then we went through the grits, 80, 120, 240, and it was ready for spraying. And that's where we are today. So it's a weird picture, isn't it? A bit weirdly pixelated, but I think you get the idea. There it is, the finished result. Beautiful.
Do you want any questions?
There we go. So that was inspired by Roland. Thanks for asking me to do that, Roland. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed it. And it was also a pleasure to be able to share it with you guys as well. So that's a little bit above and beyond what I would advise for a sort of beginner. Obviously you're going to need extra tools like the Dremel, for instance. To build a guitar you don't need a million fancy tools. It's one of the things that puts people off, but I did make a video and I've got a PDF which is downloadable, and also some free plans if you head over to the site, join up as a free member. Essential tools for making your first guitar, and there aren't as many as you think. You can beg, borrow, but don't steal, please. You'd be surprised actually, people will just give you tools if they know that you're definitely going to use them. You'd be surprised if they're not using them. Guys have got sheds full of tools that they're not using, so just put the word out there and see what happens. Go on, Carol, we've got some questions.
Yeah, you have actually. So let's get. So first of all, you've got to say hello to Dubai, because Phantom Exploration. He's not been in the workshop for a while.
Hello, Dubai.
He's
How are you
over in
doing?
Dubai. He's hot. And you mentioned the wee rust. Dave Loveland. He ordered. Not Dave. No, Dave. He ordered 2 rasps by accident. So, so we're calling him Two-Handed Dave, because
Dave
I
2 rasps.
suggested that he could use them at the same time.
Yeah, well, we'll have one back.
Eddie Cameron's got a serious question. He says that early SGs, there was a lack of contact because of the pickup route. What did they change, and could that apply to the sort of style of neck joint on Roland's, for example?
Yeah, I've no idea. I couldn't tell you the history of the design of other manufacturers' guitars. I'm not a guitar expert. I'm just a guitar maker. I'm just a lowly guitar maker. So I don't know what they would have changed. I could give you some ideas.
Which I think is what he was.
If you want to increase the area here, then the obvious thing to do, let me show you the difference. This one goes straight across. This one goes straight across, you see. So one thing you could do is just add a curve here, and then you basically add in a small body heel. So on the back, instead of going straight across, you do what I did with Roland. You just add some extra strength that way. So I'm not sure exactly what they did, but that's what I did. Alternatively, this one, again, I'll show you the first one again. Let me show you this one. 2 pickups. So as you can see, the neck can extend.
No, they can't see that.
Sorry, well done. The neck can extend to there. And so that is the maximum strength of our pickup in this case, of our neck in this case. Like I say, we could increase that, increase this and draw on a body curve at the back. But another thing we could do, I'll just show you what that looks like without the pickup. So as you can see, the neck extends under the pickup, but it can't go any further than that, not easily anyway. And so that is the maximum strength of our neck. I would advise you have at least 2, I think it's 60 mil that I do actually give measurements on the course for this that I've worked out. I think it's about 60 mil, I would say is the minimum there. Kind of 2.5 inches, 2.25 to 2.5 inches minimum. And I based that on a guitar that came into my workshop that was actually made by Hamer. So here's another alternative, is you extend the neck. It goes beyond where the front pickup would be, much longer. And so in this case, the neck goes all the way back to here. And so I've got massively strong neck joint. But then you've got a big visible neck. So the easiest thing to do is to put a scratch plate on. So here's our Nantucket. And the advantage of that, of course, is that you can have your neck sticking out as far as you want. So you can make your last fret super reachable.
Mark, can I just, it seems like a good time to ask, aloha to Superclunk in Hawaii. He said, when you're doing a seamless neck like that, do you have to reduce the thickness of the neck heel?
No, I just kept it about the same. It's about 10 to 12 mil. The neck heel.
Doing the
No, it
seamless
doesn't make
neck
any
joint,
difference.
do
It's
you
the same
reduce
as always.
the thickness of the neck heel?
Yeah, it's the same as always. So we route our neck angle on as normal. Yeah, I must have cut that bit out of the film, so it's not in there, but I did film that bit as well. Yeah, so the neck heel obviously starts off a lot thicker than that, and we've routed on an angle on the back of it. But that's part of the fit in the neck procedure, which is all covered. It's all covered on the courses.
Okay, can I butt in just for a bit then?
You can.
Right, so Tomaz, hello Tomaz, we haven't seen you for, well actually you were here last week, but he says in area guitars they glue in the neck and put 2 screws under the pickup.
Yeah, screws, right, so it's partially, did you say glued and screwed?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's not great, is it?
But we don't know anything about area, so...
Don't really see the point of that, to be honest. But we did do, back in the day, we did do a screwed in neck that was based on a set neck. So it actually had 4 screws in the back, but the construction was the same as this. And so you've got 2 long screws, and then because of this, because your neck is a lot thinner there, you have to have either 2 short screws, or what we did is we used ferrules. So I don't know if I can actually put my hand on any ferrules right now.
I'll get some in a minute if you just finish.
I'll show you something similar. Carol, you'll never find what I'm looking for because you've no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh, I have no idea. Okay, well, that's fine. You got any other questions?
But I can show you something similar. They're not the same shape. So you put a threaded piece of metal in the neck, and then you have a screw that threads into that. And so they use a different shape. This is actually what we use for our acoustics, not our electrics. But it's a similar thing. So you have a metal part that's inset into the neck, which you threaded, and it threads into from the body. I don't think I've got one to hand to show you, but actually gluing and screwing to me is like pointless. Why would you do both? The whole point of screwing is so that you can remove it. And if it's glued, then you can't remove it, can you? And also, if you're gluing it and then putting 2 holes through it, in my opinion, you're actually weakening it. Let me explain what I mean. We get a lot of, well, not a lot, but we often get a common repair is where somebody's dropped their guitar and on an angled back headstock, like this, headstock hits the floor first, headstock snaps off. The best repair for that, believe it or not, is just to glue it back on. But some people insist on putting screws through. So picture this. You just put 2 big holes through your bit of wood around some metal. And then you put a bit of metal in the hole. If it ever gets any more knocks, it's just going to break around the screw. Or, because wood expands and contracts, it's just going to crack again. So we don't put screws in any repairs, and personally I don't think you're making it any stronger if you're gluing and screwing. I might be talking out my posterior, but
well,
maybe they've got a very good reason for doing it, but I'd say I'd like to hear it.
Well, Super Clunk, Clint's saying that some people have say that the hex threads create more sustain, and TV 10101.
Well, they're bound to say that, aren't they?
TV 10101 said
They're trying to sell you a guitar.
So he said he's had it answered, but it's worth saying out loud that what he said was, if the heel joint is really small, could you add a couple of recessed bolts to add some strength?
It's not going to add strength. Unless you want to make a bolt-on. If you're making a bolt-on neck, then by all means. But of course, there's another misnomer that's showed up, isn't it? A bolt-on neck is not really a bolt-on neck. A bolt-on neck is actually screwed on with screws. But you can use posh fancy ferrules with screws. If you bear with me one sec, I will just nip over there and see if I can lay my hands on one. But yeah, if you're doing a bolt-on neck, then yes, extend the body by all means, and that will give yourself something to so that you've got space for the 4 screws. Like our penny that I was making last time.
TV 101 says it's a bolt-on if you use bolts.
Yeah, and screws. Or screws. So here's Penny that we're making. And Penny's a bolt-on, look. And so we've extended the body heel. Whereas this one over here, this one's going to be a set neck, and so there's not much of a body heel. Very little body heel. Yeah, so this one here, Penny, is a bolt-on neck. When I say bolt-on, it's actually screwed on. Yeah.
Can I just add a comment here that
Of course you can.
Eddie Cameron is saying, don't overlook the importance of how you, Mark, hold or clamp your guitar during carving. It's not always obvious, and it can save a lot of tears. I guess that's a reference also to them.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Well, I'd say the same, to be honest. The same goes for every job. I mean, you might have found it particularly helpful for that job, but other people have pointed out other things. Everybody's different, so it might not be carving the neck that you're worried about. It might be something else, like routing things or getting things in the right place, or getting the angle right is one that I get a lot. So that's what the courses are all about, and so yeah, thanks for pointing that out. And that is going to lead me on to my warning that I've been bracing myself for.
We've got things before that.
Go on then.
Right, so first of all, Matt Tomon, hello, Matt in Denver.
It has come to my attention!
Hi! Listen, Matt's asked, what grit sandpaper did you have on your Dremel? What grit Dremel was it?
I had an 80 grit one and I had a 120 grit one. I only used the 120 grit. I didn't use the 80 grit, so it didn't take that much, to be honest.
Okay, Raoul Shooton over in New Zealand said, do you think you could glue in a fender neck instead of screwing it in? Great question. So instead of, what?
No, not a good idea. The basic reason is there isn't enough wood contact area. So look at this bolt-on neck here. The bolt-on neck is only, well, they call it a 1-inch neck. It's actually only about 18 mil of that neck that goes into the socket. Socket's about 18 mil deep, roughly. This one's got a slight angle on it. The angle's on the socket. And there isn't really enough meat to get a strong enough glue joint. So that is why you'll find most set neck guitars, glued neck guitars, the heel is a lot chunkier. So you start off with a 2-inch neck blank, and you can see how chunkier the neck is. So there's advantages and disadvantages for both styles of construction, but those are the two main basic styles of construction. And then on top of that, you've also got through neck guitars, and that covers 90% of, probably 98% of electric guitars. They're either bolt-on neck, set neck, or through neck. We do all three. In fact, you could make any guitar as a bolt-on, a set neck, or a through neck. There are just a few modifications that you need to do, mainly around this area, obviously, and that's all covered in the course. So I do show you how to do the different styles, all covered on the course.
Okay, so Hex here, I don't recall him or her being in the workshop before, so hello to them.
Howdy, welcome.
The question is, do you think a maple walnut laminate is good for a guitar neck, for an electric?
A maple walnut laminate, yes.
Pros and cons,
well,
please.
but it's perfect. There are no pros and cons. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's a fine choice for a guitar neck. I would probably say go mainly for maple. So in our case, it might not look like it, but the dark bits are maple. This is actually baked maple, and the light bits are satin wood. So maple is more consistently used as a tone wood. So I would use that as the main part of the neck. And then if you've got any fancy pieces, like really highly figured pieces or exotic pieces that you want to use smaller pieces, because they're probably going to be less, what's the word? Stable. Highly figured pieces of wood, usually less stable. And the other thing I would say is try and use the grain so that it's quarter sawn, which basically means if you look at the end, the grain is going this way. It's not against the law to use, the alternative is what we call slab cut, where the grain goes this way. It's not against the law to use that. In fact, most maple necks, well, a lot of maple necks anyway, most maple we buy anyway is slab cut, 1-inch slab cut. And what you can do is use several of these glued together in this direction to make your neck laminate. So that's what we usually do in this case, and that's probably what I would recommend.
Well, Hex is saying he's got 3 and 2, three maple and
Ideal.
2 walnut.
Sounds perfect. Yeah, it's a bit tricky gluing them all together. And then obviously you need to turn that roughly glued together clumps of wood. You need to turn that into a nice flat smooth neck blank before you can start working on it, and that's really the hard thing. Doing that by hand with a hand plane is not for the faint-hearted, I tell you.
Right, there's still some. Can we just catch up with all these before you
Go
move
on,
on? Right, so then Boo, you were talking about the scratch plate covering some of the multitude of sins that you might have there, right? So Boo asked a question and saying, instead of a scratch paint, could you fill the imperfections on the neck before spraying it a solid?
Yeah, of course you could. Yeah, you could just leave the outline of the neck visible, fill any gaps with wood filler, give it all a good sand, maybe even put some colour on the top. If you painted your guitar a solid colour, nobody would even know, would they? It's only if you've got a stain on it, like this lovely plum. I've noticed the colour's a bit weird today. So we've had a few changes, so things are a bit different. We've got a slightly different setup today, but hopefully it's improved it. But we've got a few little glitches to iron out, I think.
Deej has finished his work and he's in the house this afternoon. He's just come in as Deej. He's asking about would you put washers? He calls them anchors, I think, but we call them washers for the neck screws.
Well, it depends on the guitar design. I think Deej is talking about this. Neck anchor washers. Recessed neck anchor washers. Yeah, I've put them away. They're away somewhere. So in this case, obviously, yes, I'm intending to use them, but we don't always. You could just use a flat plate. But in this case, I wanted to reshape the end. I actually covered that on a recent live stream. We did all that. Actually built this whole thing on a live stream. I think it took four episodes to build it from scratch. Aye. So
right, he's actually saying something else. He's saying not washers, inserts.
Not washers.
Not anchor washers. He's talking about inserts.
Yeah, we're talking about those ferrules again.
Right,
I was trying to find.
Okay. Yeah.
So seeing as how it keeps coming up,
Sorry, Deej.
I'll have another look. See if I can find any. I know where I've got some.
Okay, so he's looking. Yeah, sorry.
Right, I know where I've got some.
It's hard to put things.
Here we go. Now I often use these ferrules for making my jigs. So here's my dovetail jig that I use for doing the neck joints on acoustic guitars. Give me a second and I'll just show you. So these things are really handy for making your own jigs and that kind of thing. I'll see if I can actually get it right out. Hammer.
Yes, they're talking about threaded inserts for use with machine screws, bolts.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's what I'm going to show you. So this is an example. An example. So this is what we used to use in the factory for our set neck guitars that we bolted in. We used two normal, like Fender style screws at the front, and then at the back on the thin piece, what we did was we put two of these in there like that, and then bolted through from the back. So at the back it looked like that, and at the front it looked like a normal set neck guitar. Again, there's only really one advantage to that, and that is that it makes the neck removable. You know, if you're going to be pedantic about sustain and that, like saying that a bolt-on with ferrules is more firm than one with screws, then gluing it in is going to be even firmer, isn't it? or make a long tenon neck like I showed you earlier, or even a through neck. You can do pretty much anything you want, can't you? Once you've got the basic methods down. What I'm all about is trying to teach you the basics, the basic methods. Once you've got those down, then you're away and you can do whatever you want.
Right, well, whilst we're still on sort of neck
Did
joins,
I answer that question? Yeah,
I think
ferrules.
so. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
ferrules.
you change your camera.
So I use these for making jigs and stuff. But it's basically an M6, in this case, an M6 thread. You can even get fancy hex bolts for them if you want.
Deej was saying he was sort of asking from the sort of point of view of sustain.
Yeah, well, anything that's going to hold two pieces firmly together is going to make it sustain. Rather, anything that isn't quite held together is going to lose energy. It's going to lose sustain. So, having said that, I would defy any of you to listen to a guitar on an album and go, oh yeah, that one's got screws in it.
That sounds like a challenge, Bob.
That one's got screws in it, but this one, listen to this one, it's got bolts. Doesn't happen, does it?
Right, Mark, Backpress says you can also get slightly less brutal ones than that.
Yep, sure.
That screw into the wood.
Exactly, yeah.
He usually bonds them as well to stop them spinning, and he uses M5 ones on the fret slot jig, which brings me to just to say.
Brilliant. So yeah, this is just one example, and we did use these on guitars, but you can get different ones. You can get smaller ones that are neater. In this case, this would go under the fretboard if you were using it like this, under the fretboard. It'd be hidden under the fretboard. What Darren's pointing out is that you can get also ones that would screw in from this side. So you screw it into there, you drill, it would probably be something like an 8 or a 10mm hole, and then your thread would go into there, into the metal insert. So yeah, there are different types available. I just wanted to show you.
Yeah, Rock and Roller's made an interesting point.
These ones that I use.
Well,
Go on.
He's made an interesting point in that he says he's seen those threaded bolt inserts in loudspeaker construction.
Yeah, exactly. You'll see it in all kinds of furniture and stuff.
But he said the bits that grip the wood can wear the wood away over time.
Nothing's perfect, is it?
No. Can I ask you another question then?
Of course you can.
All right. So
Just reassemble my jig.
Azad Zargami is in the house today.
Hey, Azad.
And he says, if you shim Bolton Neck,
Yeah.
would that affect the tone?
Would it affect the tone? Brilliant question. What's the answer to that?
How long's a piece of string, maybe?
Um,
It'd be hard to say, wouldn't it?
it might is the answer, isn't it? It might affect the tone, but again, do an A/B test, and I bet you can't tell the difference.
So actually, Mark,
Unless there's something wrong, you know, unless somehow the shim has started to cause it to rattle. But I mean, that's pretty rare unless you've left something loose. Don't worry about it. Wouldn't it be better to have the action noise? Yeah. Put the shim in. If it needs a shim, put a shim in and don't worry about it. It's not going to detrimentally affect the tone.
But so presumably, a shim is only if you need it. What are people should they be aiming for with their neck joins then? What's the?
Depends on whether you're making a bolt on or a set neck. With a set neck, you want a nice tight fit, not too tight though, because you might not get it in when the glue's on. Everything expands a little bit, so you want a nice firm fit. But with a bolt-on neck, the neck's got to be a bit looser, because you're going to spray the neck before it goes in. So if the neck's a little bit loose, it's fine. Also, because it's bolted, you can then adjust the neck angle. The most important thing when you're fitting a neck is that the strings need to arrive at the right height for the bridge. And with a glued in neck, then it's non-adjustable, isn't it? So you have to, when you're building the guitar, you have to build that in. You have to make sure you get it right. With a bolt-on neck, you've got the option of shimming it. So that's one reason why you might want to make a bolt-on neck or have a bolt-on neck rather than a set neck, because it just gives you a few more options. Also, if you drop it and break your neck, then you can put a new neck on. You haven't got to replace the whole guitar.
And won't you see this body, Mark? Penny, you're making a body for a neck, won't you? That's what this. So you made.
Yes. So what I did was, on a recent live stream, I made this body for a pre-existing neck. So if you've got a neck already, then that you treasure. Look, it's got some treasure in it. If you've got a treasured neck that you really want to use, then it's fairly simple to make a new body for it. And I showed you how to do that on a recent live stream. But again, you can only do so much in an hour on one of these live streams. So if you really are interested in all this stuff, then I do my best here, but I do waffle and sometimes I talk rubbish and things go wrong because it's live. But on the courses, we edit all that out. So in the courses, it's all edited, so they're all really concise, and I only tell you exactly what you need to know. Step-by-step guide to building your own guitar completely from scratch. We've got some questions.
Well, Like a Kite won't enjoy your courses because there's no fighting. I'm not in them, are they? Am I? There's absolutely no fighting. That's all.
You just have to imagine all the fighting in between the scenes.
Because I was filming quite a bit. Okay, so you've
quite a lot ended up on the cutting room floor, I tell you.
But that's mostly you.
It has come to my attention.
Well, you can't move on yet, right? So Deej says, can you use a small shim at the back of pocket, or use a shim that is the same shape and size of the pocket? Another good question.
Well, I usually use a small shim at the back. I mean, there is a school of thought. There's some people that put a shim in and think that it actually increases sustain and tone, because you've just got 2 points of contact, but they're a lot firmer, so less energy gets wasted. So I've not actually scientifically investigated that, but what I can tell you is I physically can't tell the difference listening to a guitar if it's been shimmed or not. Yeah, and it doesn't really matter if it goes across the whole of the bottom surface, unless you're maybe having to shim it a really awful lot, and then you might want to do that. It's a lot easier just to put a little, like, 1/4 inch strip just at the back, and that's what I would normally do.
Okay, another question. We've got Hex here, who asked a question earlier. He's watching in Romania. So hello, Romania. He says, is the neck pocket at an angle, or is the neck itself at an angle? Another good question. Great question.
On this particular guitar, on the bolt-on, I put the angle on the heel here, body heel. And on the set neck, it goes on the neck heel here. Again, I'll show you exactly how to do that as part of the building procedure on the courses. I actually did this one live on the internet, and in fact we built Lockdown Lucy. This one here, I actually built this completely live on the internet from scratch. We've got a playlist called Build Your Own Guitar Live I think it's called, where I completely built this, and you guys named it Lockdown Lucy. So yeah, we were going to do an announcement about that, weren't we, Karen? We forgot.
Is that Wednesday?
We've made a decision what to do with it.
Have we? Right.
No.
No.
We've almost made a
Almost.
decision what we're going to do with Lockdown Lucy.
Got questions.
So look out for that. Yeah, I've not finished this question yet.
Okay.
What was I saying?
I don't know. You were talking about Lockdown Lucy.
Yeah. So I showed you how to do the neck angle on this on the live stream. Completely free of charge. But if you really want to know all the ins and outs of it, you're best off joining up on the course. It has come to my attention!
No, not yet! Right, I've got to read you out this because it was in the...
Angle on here,
right,
on the
okay.
bolt-on.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, sorry, is because on a bolt-on neck you haven't got enough meat to do the angle. Otherwise we would put the angle on here.
Right, so next question. Super Clunk asks, what's the neck angle? Is the neck angle for basses the same principle as with a regular guitar?
Yes,
what about tunematics and Fender style bridges?
yeah, they're all exactly the same principle.
Right.
With a bass, you'll probably find that you don't need any kind of angle at all, but you might need a very, very small angle. The other extreme is tunematics. They're a lot higher. Most bridges come under two categories: Fender or Gibson. Fender ones are lower, Gibson ones are higher. So we usually aim for 11 to 12 mil for a Fender and about 16 mil for a tunematic or anything that's a bit higher, like these ones. Wrapovers. Wrapover's the easiest kind of bridge to fit because it fits onto just two posts, you see. Tunematic's the next easiest because you have 4 holes. And I don't recommend that you use a trem if you're a beginner because it's a lot more work for building. But that's not to say that you can't do it. It's just a bit more work, and I would recommend that you start off with something a bit more basic. You don't have to though, throw caution to the wind, why not? We'll be there to help you out.
Okay, there's just...
But it has come to my attention.
No, let's... Right, so Eddie Cameron asked Backpress a question, I think it's worth just mentioning.
Go on then.
So he asked, does the fret slot jig allow for slotting the rear edge of a strap nut, right, approximately 3 mil behind the 0 fret? And Backpress said, yes, you just remove the registration pin and clamp the template and fretboard in the desired position. And so that's about the fret slot jig, which is kind of useful, isn't it?
Okay.
But I wanted to also inform you...
I did have an idea about that, Darren.
That David
I mentioned on the live stream that we were talking about it, but I'll just run it by you again because there is a solution for that.
Well, anyway...
Another solution, I should say.
That David Loveland is watching in the States. He took his fret slot jig set arrived. All in one piece. It's all safe. Brilliant. And everything that arrived. So that's
Have you tested it yet?
That's the first one in the States.
Right, get some fret slots cut and take some pictures. Put them up on the website for us. Brilliant. Right, Darren. You know, I've got my machine fret slotter over there, and I don't use a... Oh, sorry. I don't use a pin. I use a slot. Okay, but I've got this extra little jig thing. You can see, so on my fret slotter I've got a slot, and my patterns have got slots which it fit into. That's irrelevant, they could be a hole. But look what I've done, I've made a piece which has got a slot and then 1/8 of an inch, and there's a thing. See what I'm getting at? So you could make a little insert. Obviously it'd be an extra thing, but it's got a pin that's offset by exactly 1/8 of an inch, and that would allow you wouldn't have to measure it, you could just plop it in. I think you would need 6 holes in a row, wouldn't you? And then a pin that was offset or something like that. I'm sure you could come up with something. That's what worked for me, but that means I don't have to carefully measure it out each time. I can just cut one slot, pop my jig in, and then cut the other one. And you see the little arrow on it? It's got a little arrow, so depending on which way the arrow is where the slot comes out. So if I turn it round, I can make the slot the other way. Aye, so that's what I did. I'm sure with a brain like yours, Darren, you've come up with something. But yeah, you could just nudge it over and clamp it in position until you've got it in exactly the right place, as Darren suggests. But it has come to my attention.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight you this time because
Is it time?
we've done all the questions, right? Oh, apart from, right, actually, sorry, there's one thing we didn't say. Robin, right, really early on,
Yeah.
he says he puts his hand up and he's guilty of cutting his neck hair a bit too thin. He small. He did it to hide a router error. So he put his hand up.
Well, Robin actually did an almost seamless neck joint, didn't you? Very good. So,
oh, and listen, just before you go, can you just say that Jean-Philippe is watching from Hagmatau. Anyway, I can't pronounce it, but he got his slotted and radius fretboard, and that he ordered last Monday, and he said what beautiful fretboards and
fantastic, brilliant. Oh, I'm glad you
Thank
like
you,
it.
Jean-Philippe.
That's what it's all about, and thanks for letting us know because it does mean a lot to us. Yeah, so it has come to my attention,
Right,
folks.
you're not there, Mark. You're on the blue screen.
Yeah. Tell you what I'm going to do.
It's a nice guitar, but
I'm going to share my actual screen.
okay. Has something come to your attention, Mark?
Something's come to my attention.
Is it the rude
How's that?
posts by the semi-naked ladies?
Welcome to the website, folks.
Okay.
Yes. If you go to the community tab here. Okay, it has come to my attention, folks. I'm here to help you. I'm trying to help you. And people keep turning up on the forum and they've already started. So I'm going to try and get you to join up before you start building the guitar, because you're going to save yourself a whole world of pain. Okay, so I mean, if you're halfway through building the guitar and then you discover us, then, you know, there's nothing you can do about that, is there? But I've spent the last 20 years teaching people how to build guitars and constantly trying to find the easiest way to do things. And what I can tell you is the order that you do the jobs is the most important thing. So, I mean, you can even go to my courses and you can see the order of the jobs without even joining up. And what you'll see is that cutting out the body shape, for instance, is not one of the first jobs. So there's folks turning up on the website with this kind of thing, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm making a guitar. I've started." Well, I wish you hadn't. I wish what you'd done is just slow down a bit first, and it's much, much easier to do all your machining first, do all your other stuff, cut it out last. And the same goes for your neck. So what you really don't want to do is end up with something like this, because then we've got to put a truss rod slot in there, and that's going to be really difficult. So yeah, folks are rolling up at the workshop on the virtual workshop with stuff where they're probably getting stuff in the wrong order, out of sync, and they've made their life a lot more difficult. So what I'm going to try and tell you, what to impress upon you, is to join up first before you start cutting wood, and you will save yourself a lot of bother. That's what it's all about, folks.
Well, people are starting to
So,
apologise. We've got
apologies to everyone. I didn't want to upset anybody. I know that, you know, and at the end of the day, everybody finds their own way to do it. It's such a long, it is a long, complicated thing, and I'll show you all the things that I think are easier. But you might not have the same tools as me, and you might think, oh, I'm going to do it my way. That's absolutely fine. You know, go ahead. I'll be there to try and rescue you when you get stuck. But the order you do things is really important. Like, I mean, for instance, if you've cut your neck out before you've done your truss rod slot, you've just made it 10 times harder to do your truss rod slot. So having said all that, I'm here to help.
Right, well,
and
so,
I broke all my own rules, didn't I? Because I did it myself. I was that excited to show you how to do a scarf neck. I did this on a live stream as well, and nobody noticed. But I made this scarf neck, and I actually cut it out before I did my truss rod slot. So, yeah, I'm going to work out how to do this. And we'll do that on a live stream as well, shall I?
Well, I'm glad you've apologised.
For all you people who've done all the same mistakes that I've done, then don't worry about it. We're here for you. And we will rescue it.
Well, do you know what? That's
where there's
hilarious.
a will, there's a way.
It's hilarious because you've had a couple of apologies, but what's even funnier, Mark, is
we've all done it.
What's funnier, earlier on, people were saying, "Oh, I'm in for it." There were people earlier on thinking,
"You know who you are."
It wasn't that.
Oh.
They thought they were in trouble
All
for
right,
other
well,
things.
if
so
you
it's like everybody's...
thought it was something else, then let us know what it is in the comments. But it's just really frustrating for me because what I'm trying to do is make it easy for you and pain-free, so that you don't end up hating yourself and spending hours and hours and hours doing something that should have took 10 minutes. So it's all about what to do, what order to do it in, and when to stop. And that's what I'm here for. And
Mark, can I just say something? Because
of course you can, yeah.
Well, Hex here from Romania is saying that he's got his ash and he's got a slab of maple and he's sort of almost ready to go.
Go for it.
But I was going to say that actually that, and this obviously we're biased, but for the sake of a couple of months membership, you would get that back if you
exactly. Even if you just join up for 1 month, I promise you, it'll save you more than it costs you. Don't take my word for it. Look at what all the other people are doing on the website. You can head over to the forum. It's completely free. There it is, look. Completely free to join, and you can just be a lurker, or if you want to get more involved, then you can become a premium member, and that's when you get access to all the courses.
Mark.
So yeah.
Rock and Roland 912 says, "Will that neck be for sale on the in the shop?"
Yeah. I can't tell you how many people I've met who are making a guitar, and this is basically what they've done. Yeah, it happens a lot, and I've gone and done it myself now. So yeah, so I'm in the same boat. So I'm going to work out a way. What we're going to do is probably just make a wedge-shaped piece, so that we can just not use a normal router and go back to the normal methods. So the secret will be in having a wedge-shaped piece that matches and allows us to route a slot along the fretboard just using a normal fence. That's probably what I'm going to do.
Mark, James Perry says, could you do a live stream about building a one-piece maple bass neck from wood ash, please?
Well, possibly one day, maybe. There aren't that many necks made from ash, but there are some. And I believe we've made necks from ash before, but it is quite rare. Much prefer to make maple necks myself.
Why don't you like ash for a neck?
It's just not as nice for a neck. It's not got such a fine grain. Yeah. It's got a much coarser grain, and so, especially if you're a beginner, or you haven't developed your guitar making skills, you're going to end up with a lumpy neck because of the coarse grain. With ash, you've got really hard bits next to really soft bits. And so when you're carving, it kind of digs in and then doesn't dig in and then digs in again, and you end up with a wavy surface. You know, with a bit of practice and skill, you can fix that. Rough sandpaper, you can get it all nice and flat. But ash is a lot harder to work and get it nice and smooth and round. So that's why I don't recommend it, especially for a beginner.
Well, I got confused.
Now, if you want a base neck made from ash, all you've got to do is commission me.
No, but Mark, I got confused, right?
Go on then.
Because what he meant was wood ash out of his fire, I think, because he's had to burn his his last.
I'm not even going to answer that.
Oh, right. So, Jean-Philippe Phil's Rock Auteur Compositeur says, thank you for your comments. Is it possible to get a huge piece of wood, 70 by 50 by 40 or 45 thickness, to make a Flying V or an Explorer in mahogany or older?
You mean from us?
I guess that's what he's saying, but I mean, or
I
can you
don't-
generally get bits that big?
You'll have to search a piece out. It's not going to be easy to find. As I did mention in a previous live stream, I can't remember when. But see, that's the problem with YouTube and these live streams, is that I can answer questions instantly now, but the next guy coming along in a week's time, he might not know that I've already covered it on a live stream. We do our best with tags and all that kind of thing, but YouTube's very hit and miss, isn't it? Whereas what we've done with the Guitar Making Academy is everything is laid out step by step to make it as easy as possible for you. Any more questions? Oh, by the way, we've got new cards. Look at this. New cards. So if you do an order from us, then you'll be getting some of these in the boxes now. New cards, fancy logos and stuff. You can use them as a postcard. Send it to your mates. Tell them how awesome we are. Beautiful. So yeah, all designed in-house by the beautiful Carol, my beautiful assistant. She's made them for us. Thank you for that, Carol. And oh yeah, just one more thing I wanted to say about if you're ordering a kit for Christmas, time's running out. In fact, anything that involves wood or anything like that takes a bit of time to process. So make sure you don't leave it until right at the last minute before you order, if you want it for Christmas. But having said that, if you have left it to the last minute and you're watching this on Christmas Eve thinking, I haven't got anybody any presents, you can actually buy the premium membership as a gift instantly, and it goes to them instantly. All you need to know is their email address, and you can buy it as a gift. Buy them a month's worth membership or a year membership, and you get 2 months for free. So yes, that covers just about everything. Carol's got something to say.
Well, it was just on that we still have, obviously there's still quite a bit of time left to order things, but the sooner the better, because seeing as Michel Barnier went home this morning,
we've got Brexit to deal with as well, haven't we?
The talks aren't looking very good, and so we have got some serious concerns about things getting anywhere actually. So basically, the sooner you order anything, even if you're thinking about getting something early next year, if we know that you want it, then we'll make sure that we've got the stuff in. I'm going to put online, I'm going to put a couple of things for pre-ordering stuff, because maybe it's a lot of money. You might want a kit early next year, but you can't get it before Christmas. So we're going to do like we did last year, put a thing up so you can pre-order, which means at least we know to put the wooden stuff aside for you. Because like I say, it's going to be, we don't know what's happening in January, February, but we will, obviously, we do our best to support everybody.
Okay, brilliant. Let's just give you a little flash of Roland's then before we go. So don't forget, I am currently constructing guitar finishing course, which I'm hoping to get to you before Christmas, and this will be the star, along with, I'm going to do at least 3 other examples, so look out for that. That'll only be available for our premium members, so make sure you join up for that.
Right, and we've had it's in the chat, so I need to say this because Backpress also emailed me that if it's confusing, that of course if you want to gift somebody something, but you leave it late, we can still obviously we can send a voucher, we'll email people, we can send digital stuff so that they get something to see, and then we'll get it out to them as soon as possible. So if you have a notion to buy someone a gift, don't be put off ordering it, because we'll do our absolute damnedest to get it.
Yeah, if you get stuck, then just email carol@baileyguitars.co.uk.
And vouchers,
and
we don't actually have a
Carol
thing
will
called
sort you out.
There isn't actually a sort of a physical voucher, but we've always made things. We've made if
we do our best.
We do. Right, Lewis.
Most importantly,
Lewis is in the house.
Hey, Lewis.
So Lewis obviously will be helping us get everything together, and we're hoping that when we're let out of lockdown, that we might even be able to see
Lewis.
Fiona before Christmas.
Lewis is awesome. I don't know what we'd do without Lewis. Lewis is the guy that puts all your orders together and does everything else. So yeah, hi Lewis, I'll see you soon.
Mark,
Hope you're all well.
One last comment. So Matt Bills in Germany says he's messaged Hex, who's in Romania, to say the course is absolutely worth it. I joined for a year, but even the monthly is incredible value. I think the course is super inexpensive, actually. So thanks for that.
Thank you very much for saying that. And I am gobsmacked at the comments, just not from you, but from a lot of people that are getting a lot of value out of the course. When I first created it, when we started doing it 5 years ago, I didn't even really know whether it was possible, to film the process that I do and have somebody actually follow those instructions somewhere else on the other side of the world and actually complete a guitar. But before I even finished building the website, people were already signing up and building, and I'm constantly amazed by what people are churning out. Don't take my word from it. Head over to the guitarmaking.co.uk forum and you can see what everybody else is getting up to. Carol's eyes are popping out. What's the matter, Carol?
Well, it's just that there's quite a lot of somebody called Chris Otwell who's been watching. He's in the workshop. He was just saying what a lovely finish.
Thank you, Chris.
Was on Roland's guitar, and people are saying that wow, it looks amazing.
Yeah,
so I don't know if Lewis can see those comments in the chat, but we're totally impressed, aren't we?
Yeah. So Lewis sprayed this for us, and I filmed him doing the whole process. We had gun cam, so you can watch him actually spray it. Yeah, it's all in editing at the moment, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get that to you pretty soon. And then you'll be able to replicate this at home. Fantastic.
So that's everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carol.
No, thank you, Mark.
Thank you for reading out the comments so
you.
beautifully.
And thank you for your polite dealings with me. Thank you.
Yep. Right, now we're going to go and have a mad row. We'll think of something to row about.
Oh, like a kite's going to be gutted because he only tunes in to watch us fight, apparently.
Yep. So, yeah, please join first before you start cutting wood. And don't forget, memberships are instant, so you can sign up, instant access, and start asking me questions. If you are a premium member, then there's a little button on the courses where you can, it's a direct line to me. You can ask any question you like, within reason. The most important thing, though, of course, what is it?
What is it? What is it, Mark?
It's check twice and cut once.